Hello everyone, I'm Grim, and boy howdy, does that imposter syndrome hit hard sometimes. If you're an artist like me, and you want to be any good at it, no matter what your definition of good is, I am sure you've gotten into your own head sometimes about your art, and whether or not it's even good or matters in this dark, dark void of a world. I know I've been there, especially on and off lately, and I want to share some ways in which I've chased off that imposter syndrome, both to help you do that yourself, and to also help me do that for myself by making this video. If you find yourself going, man, my work freaking sucks, despite all of the evidence to the contrary, then stick with me here. We're going to chase off that imposter syndrome with a stick together, and in RSI-ridden hand. Let's start with what imposter syndrome looks like. For me personally, I know that I'm feeling imposter syndrome when I look at my work and go, it's not good enough. After that, I consider several drastic actions like doing some crazy studying plan, ignoring the feeling and hoping it goes away, or trying to talk to a friend about it. Those, unfortunately, only end up being a temporary balm. And I also know that looking at art that usually inspires me can make me feel worse, especially if I'm already in a bad headspace, because when you're feeling imposter syndrome, that's only going to invite comparison. Speaking of comparison, my artist friend Link has a really good saying about this, which is, comparison is the thief of joy. And honestly, I find it really applies when it comes to imposter syndrome. Unfortunately though, in my experience, none of those methods I've listed off have worked in the long term for me. They do help in the short term. Taking action on that fear can work via studying, letting time pass for the feeling to subside, and being cheered on by a friend are far kinder ways to say those other coping methods that I just listed off. But it does mean that there's gotta be something else that us artists can remind ourselves of when we're feeling like we're not actually that good at what we do, or that it's a waste of time for one reason or another. When I try to think on long-term solutions for imposter syndrome, I end up battling with the part of me that is the artist and the part of me that is my own boss. The part that is a professional trying to make a living is definitely not satisfied by the same answers that work perfectly fine for the part of me that is plenty happy to just draw silly made-up characters all day. The artist part of us is happy to get an emotionally satisfying answer, and the business part of us is way more concerned about paying rent. Which means those two kinds of artists need different solutions. Perhaps even both to actually send a bout of imposter syndrome packing. We'll start with the one for the artist, and then we'll worry about that pesky manager in us freelancers' brains later. For the artist, imposter syndrome is a nasty beast, rearing its head to tell you it could burn all your hard work to naught but ash with one fiery breath, and no one will care that it's gone. In my times where I've felt like that, I've found the one black arrow to pierce that beast's hide is perspective. Not literally 1 point, 2 point, 3 point perspective like in drawing, but perspective on experience. To that end, here are several reminders you can use for yourself to regain that perspective on your art. 1. Art is supposed to be fun. If you're not having fun, you're taking your playtime too seriously and need to adjust whatever is getting in the way of that fun. 2. The artists you admire are not just magically better than you. Everyone's life experience is different. And 3. There is not one correct way to make art. You don't have to conform to other people's expectations of your work. I do definitely encourage you to come up with some of your own little phrases, and if you need to keep those reminders in a place you can see them, like a sticky note or a note on your phone. Whatever works. And for the boss in your brain, if you do art for a living, then odds are all of those lovely grounding statements didn't do much. They were nice, but there is still that nagging part of your brain going, yes, but no amount of having fun will pay my rent and get groceries. I know I certainly had that happen working on this video. It's extremely hard to disentangle your value as an artist from the money you make and whether or not you're even getting work. However, even untangling that and knowing that and reminding myself of that didn't get the imposter syndrome beast in my brain to quiet down while trying to make this video. Which brought me to a very, very important conclusion when I was brainstorming with my partner about this script. That's not imposter syndrome. That's a business problem. If you're not selling work when you need to, then you have to take a step back and look at what's happening objectively and seek advice from someone who knows what they're doing. Being totally honest, I'm not the person to give that advice. I'm still figuring out the business end of things, and my aversion to capitalism makes me feel icky as hell anytime I do work on that stuff for too long. But, as I've said in previous videos, until we have defeated said capitalism, a Thane's gotta eat. And resist the urge to buy Vampire the Masquerade books. So, if your imposter syndrome is not coming from a place of feeling inadequate or fear of failure, but instead a more practical reality about the worth of your art, then it's time to hit the books when it comes to business. I know I probably should myself. So, as I said at the start of the video, let us go forth in hand and RSI-ridden hand and do some learning. And that's the video. I hope you're feeling a bit less like an imposter by the end of it, or at least have a direction to go in that's up. Don't forget to be nice to yourself, have fun, and do your research when you gotta. And of course, be nice to other artists and creatives just trying to make it work too. One way you can do that, for me, is by appeasing the almighty algorithm gods by liking or commenting on this video. Or subscribing if you want to see more of this silly mug on your feed. And if you're wanting more art advice like this, I've got a playlist on my channel for it now. There will be a link in the description and a card or something somewhere on the screen. There'll be a clickable thing, a clicky thing. But in the meantime, I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!